And we are live on the United Public Radio Network, UPRN 107.7 FM, New Orleans. And New Orleans, I'm still praying for you. I'm still praying for all my brothers and sisters back in the South suffering from the remains of the hurricane. I'm really praying for all my brothers and sisters in Southern California suffering from all of the aftermath of the firestorm. Grew up there, so it hits close to home there. So everybody's in my prayers today. To all those above me that watch over me, to all of you, my fave para peeps on the other side of the veil, welcome. This is Father Shawn's Paranormal Ministry. I'm your host, Father Shawn Whittington. I'm a ordained Catholic priest, United States Old Catholic Church. I'm a fully professed brother with the Old Catholic Benedictines of Immaculate Mary. I'm a team member with Society of St. Benedict and co-founder with my wife of ghostbegone.biz. And on that note, if you want to know anything about my wife and I and our ministry work, go to our website, www.ghost-b-gone.biz. And if you go there to visit, there's a lot of cool things there to see. Both my books are there. God Ghost in the Paranormal Ministry and God Ghost in the Paranormal Ministry 2. And you can get the books a little less expensive at Amazon, and they also come in an audio version, which is awesome. But if you buy them off the website, they leave my office here. I autograph them, and I enclose them in a beautiful house blessing kit and send that to you. You never know when a house blessing kit is going to come in handy. And so that's a beautiful thing. And another beautiful thing about that is part of the proceeds of every sale of every copy of my books off of the website goes to support stjude.org and the ASPCA. So how cool is that? You get to help some of the neediest children on the planet and the animals too. So that's very cool. What else is on my website? My online course, Introduction to Spiritual Warfare. This is a course like none other out there available with an instructor like none other out there. And it's a course for all you true warriors for Christ that want to learn how to draw your line in the sand, make a stand, circle the wagons, and put up a good fight, perhaps the fight of your life against, God forbid, true evil if that ever comes calling. That's the course for you. You can enroll there right at the website. If you want to reach out to me and talk to me about the course before making that type of commitment, I'm easy to get a hold of. So, what else is there? Oh, a place where you can make an appointment to speak with me about your spiritual issues, not paranormal, but spiritual. And also remember, brothers and sisters, that my wife and I, we don't charge for our ministry work, helping people with their paranormal issues. So, trust me, I know times are tough. But if you're there and you notice the donate button and you're able to do so, click on it and send my ministry in a small donation. I promise you, it'll be appreciated from the bottom of our hearts. And trust me, we'll put it to good use. Okay, that's my song and dance, and I'm sticking with it. We have such an awesome, great guest today, and you all already knew that. That's why you tuned in. And she's in the green room. I'm going to bring her out very shortly. But another awesome thing about my Friday show is I have an awesome co-host, and I'm going to bring her right out. And that's another reason why you all tuned in. I love her. I respect her. I've known her forever. I consider her a good friend. She is the owner of Stellium Books. She's my publisher, lifelong paranormal experiencer herself. So please give a big, warm Paranormal Ministry family welcome to my co-host, Annette Munich.
Hi, everybody. Hi, Father Shawn. I'm really excited for the show today. Really, really happy to be here. And we've got a lot of familiar people in our chat room waiting for the show. Berta's here, and Michelle, and Camilla, Travis. Infinite Joy is here. So everybody is ready for a great conversation and a really great guest.
Very cool. I'm wearing your bracelet along with my Saints bracelet. So anybody wants to reach out to Annette about making you a custom, beautiful bracelet, please feel free to reach out to her. On that note, I'm still giving away boxes of blessed frankincense, incense. And I want to give a big shout out to, I wrote her, oh, Sherry Madigan. 2 weeks ago, she won the incense, and I've put messages out in just about every chat room I can get into for the show to let her know that she won. And I haven't heard back from her yet with her mailing address. So Sherry, if you're tuning in today, or if you see this replay in the archives later, this show, you won a couple of weeks ago. So I've got your box of incense ready to go. And so I know Annette and I we've racked our brains on how we can make this easier. I know it's hard. We don't want you to have to put your mailing address in the chat room when you write down your name and the word incense. And then later on around midnight pulls the name out, pulls a winner, but then we don't know where to send the incense. So we usually announce the winner, but if you don't check back and give us your mailing address, we can't get the incense to you. I really can't think of another way, Annette.
Right. They have to contact us through one of our emails or on Facebook. And I'm Annette.Munich@gmail.com. And you've got ghostbegonebiz.net. And then also Facebook. And so we'll
I've
do the
got
same.
two. You can reach out to me at Shawn, LVNV at hotmail.com. You can also reach me at Shawn at ghostbegone.biz. And but afterwards, after Annette gets back to me later tonight, tells me who the winner is, I'll go into just about every chat room still remaining that I have access to for the show, and I'll type in the winner's name. Definitely at my YouTube channel, I'll type in the winner's name, and
Right.
then we'll wait to hear from the winner, hopefully, and then get their mailing address. But
And
still
then
getting.
next week, we could do one of the sweetheart bracelets for a giveaway on the Italian Millefiori.
Oh, very cool.
So, and
Very
that's
cool.
kind of like a Valentine. With as slow as the mail's been, I couldn't promise that somebody would get it by Valentine's Day for a gift for someone, but it's possible, and we can try and do that. So we're doing that, and today we got the blessed frankincense, and then at midnight, anybody that types in incense, um, they're entered into it all the way up until midnight. For people that can't watch us live and they watch us later so that they're included. And we could put Sherry's name again in the comments for today's show in case she sees it. So I guess anything other than that, that's the best we can do.
Okay. Before I bring on our wonderful guest, do you have any other announcements you'd like to make?
I do
You look
not.
very pretty today. I wanted to add that.
Thank you. I got an eye twitch. I was hoping it wasn't noticeable. I got the eye going. Okay.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and bring on because we only have her for about 30, 35 minutes before we got
Right.
to kick her out of here. And she's one of those people you could do a whole series of shows with. Um, so, brothers and sisters, like I said, I love her and respect her too. I haven't known her very long, but she's one of those beautiful kind of souls that you just gravitate to, and you just know she's just super super cool. She's the host of a show in the mornings on Coast to Coast. We'll talk about that. She's an author, she's a cartoonist, she's a paranormal authority. She might say, no, I'm not, but yes, she is. And a lifetime paranormal experiencer in her own right. Please give a big, and a producer, and her resume is like, goes on and on and on. It's just very impressive. So I'm just blessed she's here today. Please give a big, warm Paranormal Ministry family welcome to the one and only Heidi Hollis.
Hey there. Thank you so much for the awesome intro.
It's from the heart, and you're here in Vegas, aren't you?
No, I'm not in Vegas right now. No.
Do you?
I'm believe it or not, I'm in the Midwest right now.
Oh, very cool. Very cool. Is that where you call home, or is it Vegas? One of you or one of your friends or somebody I know is living here in Vegas, and I guess that's not you,
No.
huh?
There's
Um,
nobody I know over there. I
I
do
know
have
you.
I have family over there. I do.
Very cool. You also in your business as a producer and a show creator and all the other kind of things you do, um, podcaster, radio show host, TV personality. Do you get to LA much? And if you have, any thoughts on what's happened there?
Yeah, I was just out there in September, speaking at an event. It's heartbreaking. It really is. California is my home state, but I was mostly raised in the Midwest. But yeah, it's heartbreaking, and it's literally. I think people don't understand. It is like an entire like culture that's being destroyed. It's like each neighborhood, each burb, every section has their own like vibe, their own feel, their own things that they do, the regular routines. And it's just like a dying culture when they're being, absolutely destroyed like this. I don't think that's, it's like, oh, just relocate to another part of the area. No, it's a whole other thing when you do that. It's really, it's horrific. um I see a lot of people wishing bad things on these people. They think everybody's rich and like, oh, boo hoo. And it's horrific. It breaks my heart. But people are all about, this is the sign of the times for the worst evers. And this is true. We are in those times where we are breaking records constantly. Worst storm ever, worst this, warmest that. And I I'm I really I'm praying for him because nobody deserves that. Nobody. And there's a lot of children involved, and it's
Yeah,
sad.
it is sad. I was born in Colts Neck, New Jersey, but in the third grade we relocated to Southern California, and I grew up in the San Fernando Valley till my late 20s, and before I moved out here to Vegas. And I've talked to many friends that I still know that I grew up with, and I say, is it as bad as they say, or is it worse? And they actually even pause for a minute before they answer that, and they go, to just even tell you that it's way worse doesn't do it justice. We're actually living a nightmare
Mm,
that we can't wake up from, and it's just that's
yeah,
just brutal.
it is. It's And to, get political about it, that's just adds salt to the wound.
Yeah.
It's like, just look at the immediate need right now. Stop, blaming one party over another. And, it's the time to just act and pour your heart out to the people. So,
I was saying that last night to my daughter how people have become so boldly hateful and
Boldly.
boldly hateful.
yeah,
And you know, people from my generation, I don't remember people ever being so really nasty and
yeah,
say such nasty things. And talking about the things that are happening cataclysmic. We just came off of that bad hurricane, two of them. And then I'm originally from Chicago and I'm by Tulsa. We got 9 inches of snow last week, which is unheard of. We have another cold wave coming, like really bad. They might get snow even where we're broadcasting here in New Orleans, which is pretty unheard of.
mm,
So a lot of real extreme things happening. And people make their own interpretations about that. But it's something to be very concerned about.
yeah, truly.
Well, listen, before I forget, next time you see George, tell him I said hi. Um, he's just such a he's just such a cool dude too, as you are, and he's always the few times I've been on his show, he's just such a gentleman and just really a cool dude.
Yeah.
Tell him I said hi. And how did that come to be? You hooking up with George?
They gave this college kid a chance. I'd put out my first book. And boy, talk about your nerves just I thought I was gonna die. They're like, who's this kid that wrote a book? and they put me on a speakerphone, and they must have had 3 or 4 different producers throwing questions at me and seeing if I could handle it. And I was like, what just happened? What was that? And they're like, okay, we'll schedule you. And I've been a regular ever since. My first interview hit their listeners' favorite list like right away, and they repeated it like 2 weeks later. And it just kind of continued that way as being a quote fan favorite, being a jovial college person. And then, I don't know how to not be myself in speaking on even the most horrific topics, because it's like, that's just how I am, and I just feel that be yourself goes a long way. And George just kind of took to it, she's just rolling with it. And I just don't stop. And I don't know. I mean, I enjoy trying to be of help. And
So how did it go from you just being a fan favorite guest on his show to having your own very popular, successful Dark into Light radio show?
Dark Becomes Light. It's now archived.
Light. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's archived on Coast to Coast. I don't do a live regular one anymore with them, but I do their news. So I do their newscasts. But because, again, it's like I was a fan favorite. I had hosted many podcasts over the years and broadcast radio, even on this network at one point. And they decided they wanted to do a couple of shows and gave me a call, and I was like, well, heck yeah. I had to audition for it, like, do a sample show for us. I'm like, I do this all the time. Here you go. So yeah, so it just kind of went down that way. And yeah. And the show is still getting many, 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 many listeners. Just like, like, when are you bringing this back? And I'm like, there's other projects that I'm working on. But the news, I just still do the news segment as one of the specialists in evil. So.
Well, before I let Annette at you, because she's got some paranormal topics off the charts that she wants to talk to you about today, and I know what they are, and I can't wait to hear it, because I'm not an expert, and sometimes I have guests like you come on, and they're going to talk about things that I just want to be a student. But I do want to ask you this: there's something you and I have in common, and that's we both have met Jesus.
Yeah.
I read that somewhere about you, and I would love for you to share that real quick before I let Annette at you.
I am so glad you went there instead of the dark stuff first. That's all people want to hear. And I'm like, my favorite topic is Jesus. That's the only reason why I'm sitting here and doing what I'm doing. And a lot of people don't recall that part. He asked me to finish writing my book and telling the world about shadow people and Hat Man. Like, I'm that person because he asked me to, and the first time I saw him, I've seen him several times now. And I took great pride picking on my friends in college that went to bed early on a Saturday to get up on a Sunday morning and go to church. I was like, say a prayer for me, I'm not going. So, but to make a long story short, one day I came home. I usually had to take a quick nap before I went to my classes. And I came home and I told my roommate, turn your TV down. I'm going to take a quick nap and go to class. Went to lay on my bed. And I fell through my bed. I thought I missed it. I hit the floor. And I'm like, well, what the heck? And I'm like getting up. I'm like, that was crazy. What was that? And I'm straightening myself up and I am not in my room anymore. And I'm looking around. I'm like, what, trying to make sense of this. And I am standing in front of my parents' home. And I'm like, and I'm really trying to make sense. Like, Heidi, how'd you get here? And I'm totally making up this scenario. Like, well, I was planning to go there to meet up with a family friend. I just don't remember how I got here, though. And my parents have kind of a long driveway. And the family friend's name was Quincy. I'm like, oh, here he is. He's at the end of the driveways coming up now. It didn't take long before I realized, oh, that's not Quincy. And as he's coming up the driveway, I just buried my face. I just buried my face. I'm like, what? You know, and he comes right in front of me and he says, hello, as if he's going to talk about the weather. And I'm like, with my face buried, hello. You know, it's like, I couldn't fathom who's in front of me. And he said, if you knew who I was, you would not hesitate to say it. And I took my hands away from my face and I'm stuttering. And I'm like, whoa, you're Jesus. And he said, yes, I am. And I don't speak Spanish. I took German in school. I would never call him Jesus. And as I took my hands away from my face, I saw the very stereotypical off-white robes, very bright light coming from behind his head, and it shadowed his face, but I saw shoulder-length hair. And he started talking about his life and how so much needed to be done. And he's carrying on, right? He's talking, and I'm freaking out. I'm like, Heidi, you are here. You are here. I'm hitting my leg. I am pinching myself. And I'm like, he is really here. And then I went to touch the ground next to me, like really trying to feel like I am really in this space. And that's when I realized, why is the ground so close to me? I fell on my knees in front of him. And as if he realized I'm not paying attention because I'm blown away right now, he got quiet. And I'm stuttering again because I'm taking my attention away from the ground. And I'm going, what do you want me to do? And he kind of helped me stand up. And he said, first, you need to show us some things. You need to finish writing your book. Do not worry what other people say. Know that I'll be there to give you the words. And that was the Secret War book introducing Shadow People and Hat Man. And I'm like, okay, you know, and he started to tell me something else, right? And I knew this part I wasn't supposed to recall. And it was like, I was close enough where I should have been able to see his face, but I didn't. But I got close enough to see his lips moving. But I didn't hear anything. And then I knew he had to leave. And I'm like, think of something, Heidi. Think of something. You know, and I'm like, ask him something. And he's starting to walk away. And I asked him the strangest question. I said, what's my real name? And he laughed lightly. And he said, I love you very much, Ilea. And I remember thinking, Ilea. And it was like Iliya or something. And I was like, Ilea, I've got to remember this. And I felt myself getting pulled out of this space. And I wake up and I am in that bed. I didn't hit the floor. I was shocked by this, but let me tell you, people are like, how'd you know it was him? I'm like, I could have been blind and seen it was him because every cell of my body screamed his name. Every cell. And the love that was all over me, I didn't want to move. I was in the bed just like, you know, the joy of it, right? And it was my first most moving experience with him. But what happened soon after that, I didn't know that this even more doubly proved that I'd seen Jesus, because as soon as I'm like basking in that, you know, didn't want to move from this love, I started to go into another scenario with a very, very dark demonic thing. But I tried to not give that so much attention. But to answer your question, that was the first encounter I had with him. And it changed everything. Everything. Yeah.
It's a wonderful story. It gave me goosebumps, and it reminded me of some other things and some other encounters I've talked to people about. They're seeing Jesus or feeling his presence or running into him. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, my book Jesus is no joke is the telling of the first several times that I saw him, and I was literally just recently finishing up the book 2 to the other encounters I had with him, and that'll be out pretty soon. But it took a very different turn. This new book coming. So, but something I want to talk to you about later, Shawn, on the phone if you have a
Very
chance.
cool. Well, listen. If before I let Annette at you, she wants to talk to you about a couple of
Yeah.
paranormal topics.
Yes.
Where can everybody reach out to you to purchase your books and to see when they can catch where they can catch your show and all that?
Yeah. Coast to Coast AM .com. If you go to podcasts, it's there.
Okay,
And then you'll catch me live on the show talking about devil stuff and Hatman and spiritual warfare. My books are everywhere. So if you go to HeidiHollis.com, you'd find all of the books. But
very
uh,
cool.
yeah, but they're Amazon, wherever. But yeah, I have 8 books out right now. So
I'm jealous. I'm struggling with. I struggle to get the 2 out that I have out, and really
well,
struggling with the third one. I have what I want to write in the third one, but I'm just dreading. There's a lot of effort that goes into them, and just dreading sitting down and just doing it. But that's another story. But Annette, I'm going to let you 2 gals chat for a bit.
Thanks. What a fascinating story, Heidi. And
yeah.
when Jesus wanted you to finish the book, and the book is about Hatman and shadow people.
It is about it's the first book was called The Secret War, The Heavens Speak of the Battle, because myself and my college roommate, we were met with a being who spoke of essentially working for God, but it didn't look human. And it spoke of the darkness that was here and how Christ is who he said he was, and we recognize him throughout the universe. So myself and my college roommate, we were just like, what are we dealing with here? And telling us essentially how to defeat negative alien beings in Christ, negative ghostly like things, the shadow people, the Hat Man. And yeah, so it's essentially talking about the battle of all battles and what's going on and the progression of these 2 phenomenon that I did not, here I am, this college kid. I named these 2 things in the privacy of my own place. And they're telling me, write this. This needs to be done to help free the souls of this and to help with that. And I'm like, what's my little messed up book going to do to help with this? Who would think it would go viral as it is now? And to have these beings tell me, don't worry about it. We have this. And then Jesus shows up, and has continued. But again, I was raised Methodist, not a super religious person, but had to get my mind straight and figure it out because it was necessary.
So Jesus called you into spiritual warfare.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everything I do every day is because of him.
Right. We don't get a lot of people talking about Hatman and shadow people. It's kind of, I don't know, Shawn might think differently. Father Shawn might have different experiences, but there's a lot of people that don't really know what to make of it, if they're regular ghosts or if they're malevolent ghosts or if they're actually demonic entities. And also we have had people that believe that aliens are malevolent, even demonic. I don't know if that's all of them or some of them, but these are some of the things that people kick around today that are less understood. So I'm interested in hearing your experience and your take on those 3 different types of.
Sure. So I had a UFO discussion group for 15 years, and I was in the boat of people who were people that had abductions. I assumed that they were. I know that guy popping up. Hey, Robert. I was in the I was in the group of people who are like, well, there was a group before mine, and the people were absolutely being abused. They were sleeping with guns under their pillows, wanting to murder these things. They come and take my child again, or come and abuse me again. And I watched the transition go from I want to kill them to them accepting, oh, their family. I'm chosen. I'm special. I'm like, hold it. You have a special knife under your pillow. When did that change? So, and people are like, is it Stockholm syndrome? It's a whole other ball game. I didn't really have a good basis. I've never been abducted by aliens. I'd seen huge UFOs that would come down when I was calling them. I was just confused with what was happening with all of that. And it wasn't like I was calling, but that's another long story, and we don't have that time. But I just I didn't have a strong opinion, and I wasn't really well informed, though I had gone to a lot of conferences and I did start meeting other people. It wasn't until I had this encounter with this positive being who spelled these things out, like there's a line, there's good, there's evil, there's a conflict in alien contact. Abduction is not good. Since when is that word okay? Then people start saying they're a contactee, though they're being abducted, and trying to smooth it over. So there is literally a conflict in alien connections. People want to say my alien's the good guy. Yeah, he used to rape me, but I'm okay now. And it's like, if I had a friend that did that, I wouldn't have him come over again. So I
Right.
think people have to have a common sense approach and not to be afraid to use that common sense approach. Just because these things are different from us, we can't say that they fit into one category. They're just like people in a sense, but these people could walk through your wall and abuse you. So, and we're not even admitting we have a soul half the time. So who has the upper hand? So I think there's a lot that goes into deciphering, but for the most part, the beings that are coming, infiltrating, trying to move your life around, those are not good guys. The ones that are like, if you want a habitat to survive, it's hands off. Let them thrive. Give some advice every once in a while, but you don't put your hands in there and get your germs going. So, and that's what I was taught, and what I remembered. That's a whole other story too. But it's what I was taught by these more positive beings. You know, can they handle the name of Christ in front of them? If they leave, those are not the good ones, And it's like so it applied. And again, I'm Methodist. I didn't understand any of this was going on, but I started talking about this. I was never shy about talking about this, how the shadow people are connected directly to these alien beings as well. So, and
Interesting.
yeah, man. Mhm.
That's very interesting. Um, unfortunately I can't remember the name of this man, but maybe you'll know it. He had like a movie documentary, and I was watching it, and he was showing people how to almost like remote view and
Mm.
call the aliens in.
Oh,
And he had all these workshops, and
yeah.
people would do it, and they'd go outside with lawn chairs and sit together, and
Yes.
then the spacecraft would show up, and
Hmm.
he was like teaching this.
Yeah. Yeah. That's I know who you're speaking of. I've had people reach out to me after they've done such things and have haunting like situations, possessed even. For myself, it's so odd to say, but I know these more positive beings, right? And I'm like, are you guys around here? I was with a group of friends. There's about 5 of us. And there were so many lights in the sky that looked like they were shooting at each other. And I just tossed out, I'm like, well, I've never seen a triangular shaped craft since you guys are in the neighborhood. You mind dropping down? You could have counted to 3, and a freaking triangular shaped craft came right over our heads, probably 3 stories above our heads. And it's turning like, you want to see this side, Heidi? You want to see that side? I'm like, I am flattened on the ground. My friends are too. And my friend's hitting me. Tell it to go away. Tell it to go away. I'm like, thank you. You could go now. It's not like I'm sitting there conjuring it. It's there's a recognition and an understanding and a feel of positivity, but I don't go around trying to call things down like that.
How
Do you think
often do
you?
you
Oh,
think
sorry.
misidentification takes place? I mean, I could just read you off case after case after case that I have where people, the only thing they do have in common, I'll admit, is usually the visitations come at night, and
Hmm.
they believe it begins with a dream, and then they wake up from this dream and they realize it's not a dream. But
There.
the interactions all over the place, from violent to sexual to very angelic, to them also being taken and shown other worlds. Some people they come to me first and say, I've got a demon attacking me at night, and then I
Mhm.
start peeling the layers away, and I think to myself, nah, this is something more, something less, or not what they think. And then people sometimes just flat out say it's a ghost, and I know it's not, or it's an alien, and I know it's something different. How often do you think misidentification takes place?
Oh, it happens a lot. I was told by the more positive beings that you have to be able to close your eyes and to feel and sense with what God gave you, what's in front of you, because they can deceive your eyes. So it doesn't matter if they could, because they could shapeshift. So they could come as the more positive beings you saw before, and you let your guard down, and then they rape you. And it's like, so you can't trust your eyes. And I was told that there would come a time, like right now, how shadow people, Hat Man, these more darker, intrusive beings would get to such a level, it wouldn't just be a possibility. It's a threat that you would experience these things. And now that we're at that level, I I am very worried for people. So many people are anxious for the end of the world, and I'm like, hold on, we're gonna lose so many people. Do you feel your neighbor is ready for a transition? Do you, it's like, why are we trying to rush this? Pray that people get up to speed.
I
In
was
in the, I'm sorry, Nick. Go ahead.
I have somebody that's experiencing a very strange phenomenon that's kind of like doppelganger-ish.
Mm,
And we've asked other people about, and Father Shawn has also experienced things like that.
me
If
too.
you have any idea about it, but I do want to say that this person is seeing people that are alive, and she knows that they're not in the location where she's
Yeah.
seeing them. She
Yeah.
knows that they're somewhere else,
Hmm.
and she's seeing things that appear to be her loved ones.
Yeah.
But
I know
do you
what
have
you're saying.
any idea about that?
I
And
was,
Father Sean's stories
yeah.
from things that have happened in his house are just crazy. Like
Yeah.
his dad will see him one place, but he's actually in another room in the house and things like that.
Well, I was told when it's more, the more negative things that will do that, it's to fool you, of course.
Right?
So you'll let, oh, it's you. Come on in, and it's not, and you welcome something. It's like, oh no, you let your guard down. But as far as, this is wild, but for many years now, even before I got really out there, I would get emails from people who are like, who are you? You helped me in my dream, and you did this or that. Do I look familiar? And they'd show me their picture, and they would. Sometimes their story would sound familiar. And it wasn't until I bumped into a religion scholar, a Catholic, who said, well, that's called bilocation, Heidi. Only the saints do that. I'm like, bilocation? I'd not heard of that before. So if it's something that's helpful, that you're assisting, I know that I'm popping up because I recall some of these things, but I don't know what directs that. But so bilocation, and then these things mimicking us to have us let our guard down. You know,
So you
Right.
believe that Hat Man and the Shadow People are definitely demonic in nature.
well, see, that's the thing. Imagine you come up with a title for something that you've experienced. You don't know anybody else has experienced it, and then you're told by a more positive being from outside of yourself the definitions, what they are, how you do this, how you deal with them. I didn't have an opinion. These things, there was no way for me to study this. This came from me and sitting with one other person and a being. So it wasn't anything that I came to a conclusion of. It was these beings that were essentially like angelic, uh, who wrote the whole thing out and told me what needs to be put out there. I mean, what a thing, it's not making your parents proud. Like, you did what? You wrote a book, what is this? It's not my opinion. It's not my belief. It's like, I know. And it comes from a different place of knowing, not just the experiences, but I'm one of the oddballs out there who remembers before they were born. I remember agreeing to come here, not choosing my parents. I remember coming from the light of God and what needed to be done in this lifetime. And nothing else matters. It's like 99% of my day, I'm thinking, what more can I do? I have 8 books that are all encompassing. If a person is looking in this direction, just to get this whole idea and understanding, there is evil here. You have to combat it. You have to figure out your faith without being so hard on yourself. So I've got books on faith, book on how to pray, how to recognize the evil, and Jesus is real. It's so real. I don't even know how to express that any clearer, that he is aware of everything. I think that was probably the most moving experience I had with him, is when he let me feel what he feels for just a split second. And I don't know how he handles what he does, but there wasn't a thing he wasn't aware of, and he was absolutely anxious to return. So I just that's why I called my book Jesus is No Joke, because that's all I could say to people. Like, Jesus is no joke, you guys. He's real. He's around. And it's just it's been my theme song, I guess you could say.
I like that what you said earlier, and this goes along with this. There's different types, and maybe sometimes these Hat Man and Shadow People encounters maybe, like you said, fall under the umbrella of being fooled, and maybe it's some of these extraterrestrial beings. But I
Yeah.
interviewed a gentleman in Canada once who was an abductee, and he told me that the aliens, the first question out of their mouth when they abducted him was, had he met God yet? Had he seen God yet? I always found that really interesting. That so obviously,
Yeah.
um,
Hatman is not from here, but he is the devil, and the Shadow People are his minions. We laugh at cartoons called Minions, and what are they? Demons. So
Right.
these things are they are closely related to the more negative alien beings, because they essentially are the puppeteers of these more negative beings. We wonder what's their connection. I was told this is the connection. They are essentially possessed aliens. That's what we're dealing with. And if they have souls, why can't they be taken over? They're aiming to do the same to us. And it's just a matter of we're next. And we have to defend ourselves.
I think most people, if you sat them down and asked them this question and they were honest with you, most people would probably say, yeah, a time or two in my life, I've met somebody who I couldn't put my finger on what it was about them, but they were just odd and a little different.
Yeah.
What do you think about this theory of hybrid human species out there, that there are people that are actually hybrid humans, that they have
Yeah.
a lot of alien, they're a mix, and they
Yeah.
may or may not even know it, but they're a mix, and they're just roaming around with us and being tracked by whoever interbred them, or whatever you want to label,
Oh,
you want to slap on that. What do you
I
think
know what
about
I know when I might introduce you to at some point. But but I think there's negative and there's positive potentially in that mix as well. But as far as the alien hybrid children, I did see one, and it didn't look really close enough human to me. But I've had a lot of people that I've met that talk about seeing which children pass and which ones might be allowed to infiltrate. And I was told that this was being done because the aliens, you look at them, they don't look like they're quite made to live upon this earth. But if they have something that's half them, half us, they could live upon the earth and be controlled by them. So they want the land. That sounds so generic, but look at all the conquerors of our history. They wanted the land, they wanted the power just because, so that's the whole goal. and a little side dish of soul on the side.
In
But
addition to the battle, you and I and Annette already know that's going on between uh, God and Jesus and the devil and his legion. Do you think there's also an additional war going on between factions of different alien species?
there's a conflict. The Secret War book that I wrote called The Secret War, because the battle is going on already in the privacy of our own bedrooms, fighting for our lives as something has punched its fist through our chest, trying to yank it out, their soul out, you know. And nobody believes you, and you're like, I almost died. Yeah, sure, go to work. We're not recognizing the battle is pretty active. Yes, there's battles in the sky. I've seen them with a group of friends, but there's also a very personal one. It's on. It's on right now, and I just don't know how best to wake people up to understanding how real that is. Ask a person that's been abducted, met shadow people, Hat Man, and what they're doing to them, the possessions, the abuse. So people are talking about the end of the world, so anxious, and I'm like, get yourself right. This is not the time to dilly dally. I've been singing this song for a while. It's like, it's like, what can you do? But hopefully serve as a halfway decent example of how you can handle these things and not get so freaked out. If you have faith, and I feel I cheated in my faith. Jesus only had to come and smack me up the side of my head a few times, so I'm really solid in my faith, but everybody has their weaker moments. But so nobody's perfect in their faith, and God knew that. He knew we're flawed. You can't be perfect in everything, but people feel like, well, I can't get that right, I might as well give up. If you have the faith the size of a mustard seed, that's it. It's, you can believe that big. These things don't like it. They don't like it. And I just think think about this. If they're so big and bad, why do they have to usually sneak in your bedroom at night, paralyze you, call their friends and say, got you now? Like, it took all of this big, all for one person? I like that should tell you right there the power of the human potential and what it takes for them to take just one of us down. So to pat yourself on the back. And when I hear that, these things keep coming around every day, I'm getting something. I'm like, wow, who are you? Like, they're working double time. I want to know who this person is that they're trying to stomp out their light, but that one that had something 40 years ago and it still bothers them. Well, that's a confidence thing too, but it's those ones that they work really hard on. I'm just like, well, I want to know who this person is. So, and I know people get freaked out. It's not easy. But have a sense of humor. They hate that. And it really lifts us up. So keep comedies playing in your home.
Annette, in the couple of minutes I have left before we got to kick her out of here, I thought I'd let you, bring up anything you might want to bring up with Heidi before we have to kick her out of here.
I just thought that it was fascinating talking to you. It is kind of scary and creepy for sure. Mm-hmm. I think sometimes, this is my opinion, I don't know if you would think it's right or wrong, but a lot of discernment is just believing in God, and we don't necessarily have to try and figure out what everything is, only knowing that if we're praying and we're, dealing with things accordingly on our end, that if they're not able to come towards us or they're not able to influence us, then that they reveal themselves in that regard of, like you said, if you were to speak the name of Jesus, does it go away?
Yeah, it sure does.
Right.
Like it burns them. I think one of the cooler stories I had was somebody said, I was so paralyzed I couldn't do anything, but I could move my tongue. And I made the sign of the cross on the roof of my mouth, and Hat Man left.
Wow.
I'm like, talk about the power. Talk about the power, right? And it's like, you don't
I'm going to practice that right now.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
we're all
Right.
doing that in our mouths.
Can you imagine the sign of the cross on the roof of your mouth and Hat
I
Man taking
love that. I
right?
love that.
I was like, that's genius. That's genius. So
Like
yeah,
one
well,
time I was in the middle of a demonic attack and I lost time and I was probably paralyzed too. And I heard a voice telling me to pray, dummy, pray. And
yeah,
the only thing I could think to pray was the Our Father and the Hail Mary. And I probably prayed each prayer probably 50 times each during
yeah.
that time and eventually came out of that. But yeah. Is there any last thing you want to just throw out there before we say
Yeah.
goodbye?
Yeah, I'd like people to realize, as hard as it is, try to have no doubts in yourself and in front of these things. Don't swing at it, don't run, stand tall. And if you don't want to look at it, close your eyes and just keep a prayer. That is the number one thing that's helped me, because I don't like seeing these ugly things either. It's like, so, but it's like having no doubts. I think that is the biggest uh, element in my faith that's helped me so much. And people are like, how do you sleep at night? I'm like, usually on my left. I sleep great. It's like these things are not allowed in my home. And I'm good with God. I'm good with it. And I wish to help people get to that level. And if you've had experiences and you want some advice, I welcome people to write me through HeidiHollis.com or HeidiHollis@gmail.com. I'm just, and go to the other fword.com. That's for faith. I have a couple of books on that. I'm a cartoonist. So I did a couple of books, one for kids, one for adults, kind of with the notebook lines, and just like, here's how you approach your faith and figure it out. Have fun,
Yeah.
fall down, get back up, so I welcome people to reach out anytime.
Well, did you have fun when you come back?
Of course. Oh, and social media @1 Heidi Hollis. Put a 1 in front of my name. But yeah, no, I really did. And there's so much more to talk about. It goes by really quickly, but I could talk for hours. And I have, like, I think my longest was 6-hour interview.
Wow.
Well, I want you to have the most wonderful remainder to your Friday evening. I love
Thank
you. I
you.
respect you. I think you're super cool. I'm going
Oh,
to have you
thank
back for
you.
sure.
I
And
appreciate
I I I can't wait for it. So thank you so
it.
much for being here, and
Thank you
I'll be
for
in touch.
Sounds good. We got to chat it sometime.
All right,
Thank
I'll call you.
you.
Call me. Well, I'll call you. We'll get in touch. We'll get in touch.
All right. God bless you. Take
All
care.
right. God bless you, Heidi. We'll see you later. Heidi Hollis. Very cool.
So great meeting her. What an amazing person. What an amazing conversation. Really, really fascinating.
Listen, I'm real quick here. Let's check the prayer urn. It was so full that I'm going to feel guilty if I don't pull at least one out today. This is from Alice B. in California. Oh, we were
Hi,
just talking about
Alice.
California. Hi, Alice. This was probably written to me before the fires. So I
Ooh.
hope you're okay, Alice. She says, I live near a Catholic seminary. I pass by it every day and see all the seminarians walking around. There needs to be more, indeed. Please pray for more to be called to service to God. Isn't that's not a coincidence? We get this prayer request after our talk today. Let me say a quick prayer on that. Oh my gosh, that hits close to home. Well, I know exactly the prayer I want to say. Here we go. I offer this prayer up to Alice, all the seminarians, and future seminarians out there in the name of the Father and of the Son and the Holy Spirit. Lord, send workers for your harvest, so that the precepts of your only begotten Son may always be obeyed and his sacrifice be everywhere renewed. Look with favor upon your family and ever increase its numbers. Enable it to lead its sons and daughters to the holiness to which they are called and to work for the salvation of others. Through Christ our Lord. Amen.
Amen.
Well, are you ready for this? People have been complaining about what happened to the jokes. No, nothing happened to the jokes. So I better pull one of those out here. My hat is overflowing with jokes. Now I can't get my hand on one. Don't blame me if the joke's not that good. They're supposed to be bad jokes. Okay. If athletes get athlete's foot, what do elves get?
He's already cracking up. What do elves get?
Mistletoes.
Oh no. Oh no. What a
All right.
grown up. Oh my
I,
goodness.
I love you. I got to kick you out of here too so I can say goodbye to everybody. Have
It
a
was
wonderful,
absolutely
wonderful.
wonderful and I enjoyed it so much and great guest and everybody have a great night.
I do too. I not only look forward to my guest every week, but it's also a chance for you and I get together and chat a little bit and see your beautiful face every day
Oh,
and
thank
make sure
you.
you're doing okay. I pray for you all the time. Have a great, 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 wonderful and blessed weekend, and I'll see you next week.
Sounds perfect.
Good night.
Good night.
Annette Munich, Stellium Books. Oh my gosh, next week's guest. Oh, I should have told her who next week's guest is. And not only is she my guest next week, but she's also got a show coming up right after this one, so don't go anywhere. Carrie Lynn Shellhorn, host of Spirit Switchboard, will be here next week, Friday the 24th. And don't go anywhere because she's coming right up after this show um, with her show. So I don't know how that's going to work next week. She'll probably just, I guess, take a quickie little break. I'll try to maybe cut her loose a little early next week, and so she can get ready. Do what we hosts do to get ready to go live right after my show. But that's going to be a great show, guys. Annette, check back if you typed in incense in any of the chats. Check back in the chat rooms later. Just make like tomorrow on Saturday, because I'll announce everywhere that I can get back into and type who the winner is. I will type that person's name in, and then you got to reach back out to us and email me your mailing address because I've got a lot of these boxes of blessed frankincense incense to send out, and I'm going to keep sending them out. I got two full boxes full of these boxes, and each box contains 10 cones in there of frankincense, and they smell wonderful. Heidi Hollis, trust me, guys, I'll be reaching out to her, and I promise you, I will get her back because, like I said, I could do a series with her, and Jesus is no joke. Trust me, and I know that I bored people with my past in book one, and I scared people with stories in book two. Book three is going to have some scary stories, but it's also going to be a lot about my journey to the priesthood, and I'm going to be ordained and elevated to the abbot position in my church at the retreat in April. That's a big honor. I want to talk a lot about that too. So look forward to book three. Hopefully that'll come out later this year. But on that note, brothers and sisters, we may have done what the devil said we did, but we are not who the devil says we are. Good night, Danny. Good night, Jack. Good night, Dog. Good night, Harold. Rest in peace. Good night, Ernie. Good night, Bill. Good night, Dan. Thank you to Michelle DeRoche and Joe Montaldo, UPRN, for picking up my show. God bless you all. And I love you all in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit. Peace.